Wilder Show podcast. I'm Scott. That's Lauren.
Hello there.
Hey, how are you today?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. I'm okay.
Okay.
WilderShow.com is where you find us. Podcast at WilderShow.com is how you contact us. Wilder Show podcast drops on Tuesdays and Fridays at 6 a.m. Central Time on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. And thanks for sharing. Double the audience in a week is still going on. So the way we double the audience in a week is to have everybody tell somebody. Mm-hmm. One beggar telling another beggar where to find bread. That's actually probably not a...
I was going to say that might not be an equal
that applies
comparison,
to being a missionary, which is not really the same.
Right.
In fact, it's not at all the same, but you still can. It talks about the growth of how we can tell a friend about the Wilder Show podcast. If you ever listen to us in the...
olden times?
I was going to say that, but then I would caught myself. In the olden times on the radio, this is sort of our Wilder Show to go sort of thing. We're on demand. You can find us whenever, but we do podcasts that drop, Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and as I say, wherever else you get your podcasts, on Tuesdays and Fridays at 6 a.m. Central Time, and we do reserve the right to overserve. So sometimes we have bonuses, a bonus episode that we will put out. Okay, with that as a very long pre-ramble. Things in the news, and we'll get to a whole bunch of these things. I want to start in what in the world would the current news cycle have in common with South Park? South Park is one of those wonderful things that is a complete equal opportunity offender. It offends everyone. I mean, Christians, non-Christians, Jews, homosexuals,
they're not afraid of
straight.
Anybody.
They are not afraid of anybody.
Of the wrath of anyone.
No, they are not. And there is a part of me that, if not likes, admires that.
Yeah.
That they don't just come. If it was me, I would be, very much protective of this certain group, but then I would be very much against or whatever, making fun of this other group.
Yeah.
And that's not what they do. They say everything is fair game.
Sure.
So I want to say a brief word, and it ties into, in a weird way, in a former talk show host way. We weave, as President Trump talks about.
Gotcha.
We're going to weave our way to the news story. Let's start with Soto Sopa. Now, Soto Sopa was the south of downtown South Park.
Yeah.
Soto Sopa. Uh-huh. And it was an episode talking about gentrification. Mm-hmm. And it was a very, very funny episode. I mean, they're almost all funny, but it was a very their take on that was just unbelievable. And one of my favorite lines in that is when one of the dads is talking to the kid about how the neighborhood has changed.
Right.
And everything is different now, and they have Soto Sopa, and they have these retail residential things that have just come into.
They have a Whole Foods now,
yeah,
right?
Everything that's right. It's all the things there in Soto Sopa. And so the dad is real frustrated with his kids who want to go participate in all this stuff. He says, I'll tell you what, we're not paying $10 for an ice cream cone. And that is sort of the way it feels. Now, how does that relate to what we're talking about?
I'm so anxious to hear.
Here's the deal. The buyout of Gaza.
Okay.
The president talking about creating a Riviera of the Middle East in Gaza is like gentrification. Gentrification has always made me a little bit sad. I've grown up in places that have been gentrified, and even if it didn't affect me directly, I used to drive by some of those places and say that was somebody's home.
Right.
I mean, it was an apartment, maybe
or
it was
somebody's small business.
That's right. Maybe it was a place I would never live, and maybe you could say, but that sort of weird, cold thing of looking at something and sort of standing with your hands on your hips and saying, now imagine this whole place bulldozed.
Yeah.
Imagine how much better we could do for everybody. These people are not really happy here. They could live somewhere else. If they lived somewhere else, they'd be happier if they lived somewhere else. And then we're going to come in here with residential retail, and we're going to put in all the things on the little pads.
Luxury homes.
It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be the likes of which no one has ever seen before, to borrow a phrase. And that's sort of what the president's talking about with Gaza. Gaza is a wasteland. There's no question about that. But let me just put this to rest. There will not be, this is a complete head fake. We are not going to invade Gaza. We are not going to use U.S. troops for Gaza. We are not going to use U.S. troops for Greenland. We are not going to use U.S. troops for a Panama Canal.
Why do you think that?
It's not going to happen because these things, first of all, in some cases, it's illegal. It breaks all manner of things. The other thing is it works counter to some of the other things that are actually important to us right now. For example, with Gaza, very important, this peace deal between Gaza and Israel. If the people there in Gaza believe that 1.8 million of them are going to be resettled somewhere else for perhaps decades or maybe forever, why would the people in charge of this hostage exchange keep this going if at the end of it they're going to lose their land forever to the great Satan and the little Satan? It's just, it works counter to so many things. The other thing is, we've talked about this before, the president uses a lot of this stuff as negotiation tactics. Just running down a couple of examples. We'll talk about Mexico and Canada in a second because there's some confusion about whether or not he was successful and who blinked in the whole Canada and Mexico tariff thing. We'll talk about that in a second. But you look back at Colombia. Colombia said, we're not going to take our illegals, our criminal illegals. We're not going to take them back. Trump said, okay, we're doing away with this. We're doing away with this. We're pulling your status. We're going to take our ambassador out. We're done. And literally within minutes, they said, we'll take them.
Right.
Okay. Now, was he really going to do all that? I have no idea. What I know is he was going to make them pay, not in money, but pay if they didn't do what he wanted them to do. So he found a way, carrot and stick. He found a way to get people, in this case, Colombia, to do what he wanted them to do. Panama is another example. Now, this is in dispute, but the Panama Canal, the whole thing has been, we're going to go down, we're going to take it back. I mean, the whole point of that is, I don't know if you know this or not, but, you save, 11,000 miles of traversing by being able to go through and transit through the Panama Canal. And so it belongs to Panama, but there is a Chinese port on one side and a Chinese port on the other side. And the Chinese ports could effectively shut down the Panama Canal. And so the U.S. has said, hey, that's a real security risk. We can't have China. I know they don't own it, but we can't have China be in a position where they could shut down the Panama Canal. If we need to go down and take it back, then we're going to go down and take it back. So Panama said, we don't like that idea. Almost right after he was confirmed, Marco Rubio went to Panama and met with the president, whoever the guy is, the person there in charge. I can't remember it's president. We used to play a game, president, prime minister, or king.
Right.
But I think it was president of Panama. And here is the end result of that. U.S. vessels are now not having to pay to transit. U.S. government vessels are not having to pay to transit the Panama Canal, saving hundreds of tens of millions of dollars. Now, Panama's saying, hey, we didn't agree to that. Well, they're not going to make it public that they did. They don't want every country to say to threaten to invade them, and if they give them something back. But the point is, that is something. It was a negotiation tactic.
Okay.
We were never going to send troops to Panama. The president got something good for America, and put people on notice. Hey, we're paying attention to what's going on there on one side of the Panama Canal and the other side of the Panama Canal as it relates to China having those ports. Now, to Canada and Mexico, the whole thing was tariffs, 25%. And we said, the president said, we're going to do it. Mexico said, okay, wait a minute. We'll put 10,000 troops there at the border. Canada said, okay, we're going to put $1.2 billion toward the northern border security. A lot of the criticism later, after Trump got what he wanted, the criticism on, for lack of a better word, the mainstream media was, hey, Trump got played, man.
How so?
Trump got played. This is not something Mexico wasn't going to do anyway. This is something Canada wasn't going to do anyway. Now, it's true that there had been overtures that they were going to do some of these things, but there's a difference between whether people who say they're going to do something and somebody who actually does something. So feet are being held to the fire now for these things to actually be done, not just be talked about being done. So I use those examples, whether it's Canada or Colombia or Panama or Mexico. Gaza is the same way. We are not going to send U.S. troops to Gaza. We're not going to take it over. in all of the wars, I mean, think for a second about what it would mean. I don't want to go too deep in the weeds on this, but think about what it would mean if we had an ally. Let's say Israel is our ally. Israel rightly went after Gaza because of what Hamas did on October the 7th.
Sure.
Rightly went after them and really decimate. We're going to decimate you guys. You killed 1,200 Jews, the greatest single day loss of life in Jewish history since the Holocaust. So hold my beer. Watch this. And they went after them. And it was the right thing to do, to defend Israel. However, if at the end of that, they then could cut a deal with the United States comes in and says, like a la gentrification, says, hey, this is great. You know what I can envision? We're right here on the great coast. I can envision a great retail. I can envision the greatest hotel ever right here. We can make this the Riviera of the Middle East. That's the kind of nonsense and foolishness. In fact, even Susie Wiles, you know Susie Wiles.
I do.
We're going to come to love Susie Wiles more than we already do. She is the ice queen, they call her, there in the West Wing, and she is the chief of staff of the president. There was an angle in the press conference between President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu where it was when he was saying, we're going to own it, talking about Gaza. And Susie Wiles' eyes are the size of saucers, like
she can't believe he's saying it.
What what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? So but here's the deal. It's like the old Steve Bannon thing. Flood the zone. Flood the zone. All these news stories. This is the only thing they've talked about the last couple of days is how foolish this thing the president said about making the Riviera of the Middle East. The bottom line is it's never going to happen anyway. It's not going to happen. And everybody is wasting a lot of time talking about it. And if you are really opposed to the president, I don't want to give you the tips, not that you'll pay attention anyway. You still don't know why you lost. But if you really oppose the president, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. A magician doesn't actually make a coin come out of your ear. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Yeah.
But he may have it in his hand, and then a second later it's coming out of your ear. It doesn't really come out of your ear. It's a misdirection. While you're looking at one thing or seeing one thing, you're missing the other thing. There are so many things that are going on right now, most of which I agree with, but so many things going on that when you pay attention to the sort of the bright, shiny thing, you're missing this other stuff that really, for Democrats or anyone who's a liberal, would actually be more consequential, and you should be vocal about that, but it doesn't make the news.
So is it maybe more like pay no attention to the man in front of the curtain and pay more attention to what's going on behind the scenes or how it's all going to come? If it distasteful is not the right word, but just hard to understand, maybe it does kind of make it all hard to understand, right?
But it is the old chess and checkers. I mean, everybody's looking at the checkerboard, and chess is going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
This stuff is going on, and it's going to make a difference. Now, again, I agree with so much of it, but everybody's like, let's go get Gaza. I mean, look at that place. I mean, it's a trash heap. We could think of how great we could make this if we went in there. Now, first of all, it's not really our business. It's not our country. Not everything is intended to be a Western-style democracy. I'm not going to waste your time with my thoughts on that. We'll do it at a different time. But Western democracy is not for everybody. It takes a certain kind of foundation from a belief standpoint to make that even a possibility. It doesn't work everywhere. Like, we used to talk about, George W. Bush acted like he was, democracy Johnny Appleseed. If you just throw the apple seed, throw the democracy seed hither and yon.
Plant a little democracy all over the place.
Plant a little democracy and look at all these great democracies growing. It doesn't really work that way. So I would just say, in conclusion, as AI would put as my final paragraph, the Gaza thing is not going to be, don't worry about this. All these people thinking Trump is crazy, and Trump may be crazy, but they're not going to do this. This is not going to be a deal. We're not sending troops. Don't pay attention to that. It's never going to happen. These things are done with a different end game in mind. We're not going to have Trump Tower on the Riviera of the Middle East, there on Gaza, having shipped off 1.8 or maybe 2 million people to another part. The displacing of people is just not really what we're going to do.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. So just a little word. Don't freak out about the whole Gaza thing. Don't get too excited if you're on one side. And don't get, all upset if you're on the other side. It's not going to happen, just like those other things have not happened. But good things, or you could at least argue things that are intended by the president, things that he believes would be better for the country longer term, can come from that kind of talk, even though it is certainly just crazy, crazy talk.
Yeah, it is. Did you see who is sort of retiring this week? I say sort of retiring. Andrea Mitchell. Andrea Mitchell will be, she'll be stepping down as full-time news anchor at MSNBC on Friday. She's 78 years old.
Wow, really?
I mean, she is like a part of my news memory for almost the whole time I've been watching news.
NBC.
More power to her. She announced on Monday of this week that her long-running weekday program, Andrea Mitchell Reports, that this Friday will be her last day. That's today, actually. She's going to remain with NBC News as its chief Washington correspondent and chief foreign affairs correspondent.
But not going to do like the daily thing is over.
No, that's it. Yep.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the work of Andrea Mitchell over the years. I mean, it's easy to find things critical you could say about people that I mean, I'd say about anything, except for you, Lauren, of course. But Andrea, you could find not on tape.
No, yeah.
She's been great for news. I think
she's been around for such a long time. Anybody who can make a career of that. Dare I say, especially a woman, for a long time. I think that's to use an overused word, notable.
Well, that's Caitlin Collins' word, notable or notably, or it's worth noting. Just notice that with Caitlin Collins over there at the CNN. No, what I was actually going to say unprompted, what a trailblazer she was. Who is Andrea Mitchell and Leslie Stahl? I think of Andrea Mitchell and Leslie Stahl as real trailblazers. And I guess maybe Diane Sawyer on the other side. You have three networks there, the CBS, NBC, ABC in some order. They were all trailblazers for women in the news business, and really at that time, a man's world.
She was. And when I say she's been doing this for a long time, she in 1976, she was at the CBS affiliate in Washington, D.C. And then just 2 years after that, she moved to NBC's network news operation. And when I said she's been a part of this, on the national scene for almost as long as I can remember watching the news, all the way back in 1979, she was named NBC News energy correspondent. And then she reported on the energy crisis in the late 1970s and the 3 Mile Island nuclear accident. Wow. She covered the White House from 1981 until becoming the chief congressional correspondent in 1988.
Wow.
Been with NBC News since July of 1978.
Amazing. Really is amazing. Don't you think?
But it is.
Really is amazing. Mm-hmm. Just a quick word about the CIA and FBI buyouts. You've probably seen this, the offer for people to retire early. And a lot of people have said, well, here's really what that is. Let me tell you what it is. And you could maybe make the case better for FBI that this is the case than CIA. But let me just say for a second about CIA. And also this has gone out to all federal employees, an opportunity to get a severance all the way through September, get 8 months severance if you want to retire now. If you want to quit now, you can quit, get 8 months severance.
Okay, so
we'll come back to that in a second. CIA, you could argue at any agency in the government, there might be some fat on the bone. There might be some fat.
Yeah.
But how do you trim that fat? How do you get the total budget of any particular agency to go from here down to here? How do you cut it, for example, by 2% or 3%? And say 2% is not that big a deal. When you're talking about, really $1 billion, 2%, it adds up over time. Well, here is the way. A lot of people are saying, look, CIA, President Trump is cleaning house. He's going to put people in there that agree with him, and that's going to be that. They're going to use CIA to do way more things that CIA is supposed to do. They'll be involved in domestic information gathering, not just international, which is what they're really tasked with doing. The FBI is the domestic law enforcement and not the CIA. And so Trump is trying to get, so that kind of narrative that's going on. Mm-hmm. A different way to think of it is we got to shrink this budget. We got to shrink it. And there are a couple of ways to do it. We can go through here and fire people and come up with it. Or in any given, group of 150,000 or 6 million people, you're going to have a certain percentage that say, I would probably quit in the next year and a half.
Right.
And if I can get 8 months severance today,
I'll take it
and get out. I think I'm going to get out now. Mm-hmm. I didn't expect to have this summer to do stuff, but I'm going to take it. I'm going to travel. It'll all be on pay, and I'm going to take it. And in fact, do you know that 3% of federal employees have taken that deal?
I didn't know that.
That is 60,000 people have said, I think that's a good idea. I'm going to get out.
Okay.
Now, nobody forced them out.
No.
Nobody is.
There's no pressure.
No pressure at all.
It's just,
It's carrot and stick. It's all carrot. If you want to do it, now you can do it. If you don't want to do it, you can stay. Now, it's true that at some point, if you stay and they weren't able to cut it the way, then perhaps they will have to decide for you who is done and who isn't done. Mm-hmm. But it just becomes one of those things that is so easy to say, look at what Trump is doing. He's cleaning house at the FBI. And I know there is an asterisk on this thing about those who were involved in any way with the January 6th investigation. You could maybe make a case that is more likely to have some eyebrow-raising parts of it at the same time. People are not being fired. They're given the opportunity to leave if they want to. And there are a lot of people who might just not want to go through it anymore. I mean, even if you work for a long time for one place, you might say, I'm really done. The world has changed. My life has changed. I got kids, grandkids, whatever. And I don't want to do it anymore like this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take it. I would just say thank you. If you're getting the opportunity to get 8 months severance, by the way, that includes people that have been there for 8 years and 10 years and 20 years. It could be the people for 2 years.
Yeah, that's great.
Who say, I'll take it. I'll take that deal. If you've been there,
I think that sounds like a pretty good deal.
I think it's a
not
great
a deal I've ever gotten.
I've never gotten, and we won't detail all that here.
It's for another time.
Yeah, maybe.
Or maybe not.
Well, it actually falls into the thing I've talked about before. I'll tell you everything once I'm a greeter at Walmart. Mm-hmm. I have so much to tell you. You have no idea the things that I know. And happy to tell you once I'm a greeter at Walmart. Anyway, I would say don't freak out about the whole buyouts at the CIA and the FBI and these government opportunities. Just let it play out. But right now, anything that Trump does, as I said before, it's the sky is falling. How is he destroying all things that were ever good today? Well, let's spend our time chasing that. I think it's a head fake. I think he's got lots of other stuff, whether it's, taking men out of women's sports, which he signed, I think is a great idea. Mm-hmm. There shouldn't be men playing in women's sports, period. In Texas, we don't have men playing in women's sports at the collegiate level and beyond, and we don't have it in the K through 12. It's not there either. Boys play against boys, girls play against girls. That's the way it is. So maybe if you find the things that the president's doing that you really are opposed to, if you want to oppose something, or you can do what most Democrats do, most liberals do. They just chase the thing of the day, and it's good for clicks and all that kind of stuff, but it really means nothing. We're not going to invade Panama. We're not going to invade Greenland. We're not going to invade Gaza. We're not going to build a Trump on the Riviera of the Middle East. It's never going to happen. So that's my advice, is sort of take a deep breath,
That's good advice. You have some news, don't you?
Oh, I do. You want me to talk about that here?
Oh, I think you should.
Okay. You can call me Pops.
Pops. Or Grandpops.
I am a, that's right, Grandpops.
Grandpops.
I am a grandfather.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much for the first time.
It's wonderful.
Little grandson, John West. J-Dub,
love that name.
J-Dub or John, or I like Jack myself. I'm not going to tell him what to do. It's their deal.
Are you going to call him J-Dub?
Well, I don't know.
I'll pet name.
I'll call him whatever.
Maybe.
I think Katie. It's my daughter-in-law. I think Katie likes the full name John West.
Yeah,
John
that's
West.
Nice.
That is kind of nice. John is good. I like John as a name. I've always been partial to Jack as a name.
Yeah.
J-Dub, as we call Jamie, my son, John West's father.
Yeah.
We called Jamie J-Dub sometimes, Jamie Wilder.
Yeah.
So he is John West Wilder. He was born at 38 weeks, 20 inches long, 7 pounds, 12 ounces. I think that, are there other stats that I need to know? I should have known.
I don't think
right?
so. You said how long he is.
Long he is.
And how much
weight.
he weighed.
Yeah.
And he was born earlier this week, a little bit earlier, but all well within the plan. A little bit earlier than you were expecting him. But he's home and happy and healthy, and as our mom and dad, and everything's good. Right?
Yeah, it's good. That's good.
Fantastic.
Yeah, they just got back to the house and they're doing their learning. Learning. There's a lot to learn.
Sure.
It's different when you bring it home. The baby home. You
can read all the books, but there's nothing like on-the-job training.
It is OTJ, and so everybody tells me, how great it is to be. I mean, look, it is. I must say, I had little John West earlier this week, and I have a picture of my dad holding Caroline. The night she was born, and there's a picture now of me. And Caroline was my dad's first grandchild, and a picture of me now holding my first grandchild.
That's nice.
So it's great. So I'm now a granddad, and you call me Pops, and the boys have called me Pops for years. Just hey, Pops, and so there you go. That's my little news. The world just got a little wilder.
That's fantastic.
And his name is John West Wilder. So welcome to the clan, and the name goes on.
It does.
That's so.
I know
nice.
That's very meaningful to you.
It is. I think most guys. I know it's very patriarchal and whatever, but it is. It is important. I think to many guys where it's possible. It's not always possible.
It's literally patriarchal, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure. I agree. Yeah, I agree. So anyway, so there you go. So welcome, John West Wilder. All right. It is. It's time for Scattershoot.
Let's do it.
Scattershoot, Wilder Show, Scattershoot. And so let's dive in. Lauren, we have the Super Bowl is coming up this weekend.
It's a big weekend if you're a sports fan, a football fan. It's a big weekend if you're not a sports fan or a football fan. I do have to say, though, first of all, we've got a lot of little fun facts here, so you can be knowledgeable at the Super Bowl party that you will most likely attend. Some giant percentage of all of us will be at a Super Bowl party of one type or another. So you can lay out a few of these little facts and sound like you know stuff.
Well, we used to call that sports icebreakers.
We did.
These are sports icebreakers.
Yeah.
So if you're in the room with people, I'm not saying women, this is for you because women don't know sports, but if you're a person who's not as attuned to sports and you like to be able to walk, we used to say, you want to walk through the room and say something that will make people notice and go, what did you just say? Or what did he just say? Well, how do they know that?
In all fairness, these are not really like football. They're not going to make it sound like you know a lot about football. Okay. They're going to make it sound like you know a lot about maybe this particular
aspect
game and things.
That's okay.
Super
Icebreakers
Bowls in general.
Icebreaker, and we learned that icebreaker has to do. We learned the etymology of icebreaker not so long ago on the Scattershoot.
Breaking ice so that ships could
follow,
could pass.
Yeah, there
through,
you go. So
right?
we're anyway, sports icebreakers.
We're so smart now.
Yeah, the sports icebreaker. That's part of the Super Bowl, and Super Bowl is, of course, coming up on Sunday.
It is. That's right. I got one thing I want to throw in here really quickly because you said something at the end of the last podcast or when we were talking about Grammys and who was there and what people were wearing and what you liked and all that. And I think the quote was, what were Will Smith's kids wearing?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that what you said?
I was just saying. It just seemed just crazy.
A little odd. And I did find out a little bit more, at least about what Jaden Smith was wearing. It kind of looked like it was a big house.
Yeah, it was like a house on his head.
And it was really that. It was a wearable vampire castle headpiece.
Sounds completely
an accessory.
Practical.
Courtesy of a company called Abode. They specialize in Transylvania-centric attire. So if you want me to...
That's a niche.
That's Abode. That's ABODI for anyone who's looking to increase the portion of their closet that is Transylvania-centric. But you want to just take a guess how much that... I was going to say something like that, but this particular piece
I have
cost.
It was silly. It was like the cheese head that the the Packers people wear, except it was a big black house.
Well, and it's a whole lot more expensive than that.
Yeah, that's what I mean, but it was silly.
$4,500.
No way.
Yeah, or upwards of that. They said at least $4,500. It's described as a quality item. I mean, maybe the quality is really good. I don't know if it really matters.
It's not surprising. Anyway, so the Grammys.
So a little follow-up on that.
Okay, all right.
Just because I knew you'd be interested.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll look it up.
Okay. And one other thing before we get started with the Super Bowl, with our Super Bowl icebreakers. There used to be two categories of people who would watch the Super Bowl, the ones who were there for football and the ones who were there to watch the commercials, right? The commercials were a big part of it. And the halftime, Right. We'll get to a little bit on that too.
All right, got it.
But do you feel kind of like you see so many of the commercials I feel like I've seen already? Yeah. Either on social media or on YouTube.
I do believe that, and there are a couple of. Can I give some reasons, some thoughts?
Sure. Yeah.
About what I think the reasons are. First of all, in the old days, I know you get started with the olden days. In ago times, when we didn't have anything replayed, and we didn't have social media, and we didn't have the internet. They didn't play those commercials ahead of time because they wanted them to be special in the Super Bowl.
Right.
And then at some point, people decided, well, you know what? Yeah, they're going to get seen at the Super Bowl, but if you want to get them to seen also, go ahead and release them early, and they get seen before for free, and then we're going to pay $8 million for 30 seconds to be on the Super Bowl. They'll get seen there, and then we can also show them later. And then we had social media where all of a sudden now they're all out, and
they're all over the place.
The specialness has really gone away because that common experience, and I've opined on this over the years.
Forever. It's true, though.
We long for the common experience, and except for news items and politics or like elections or sporting events, we're not going to replay the Super Bowl. If I would say replay it to watch it later, it's not going to be on tape delay. You watch it live. And so one of the great things about the Super Bowl or any event like the World Series or whatever is the people that are doing the same thing at the same time,
right?
The common experience. And part of that has been not just the game itself, but the commercials. I don't want to get up and miss a commercial. I'll get up when they're punting, or I'll get up when they're kicking off. I'll miss one play, but I don't want to miss
the game. I just don't want to miss the commercials.
I think sometimes the commercials used to be that good.
Yeah.
That you'd want. I didn't recall the last couple of years that I thought they were even that good.
Oh, I think they've still been pretty good.
They've been pretty good.
I just feel like and I know there will still be a lot of surprises.
Yeah,
there will still be a lot of things that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
But it seems like there are so many that we see ahead of time. It kind of takes a little of the thrill away. Yeah, if it's strong enough to be considered a thrill. But anyway, so in case you're really out of the loop, this is Super Bowl 59. We're going to play on Sunday. It is the 7th Super Bowl appearance for the Kansas City Chiefs, the 5th for the Eagles, and the 2nd time that the Chiefs and Eagles have met. That was just a few years ago in 2023. The Chiefs did win that matchup. There will be 83,000 fans expected at Caesars Superdome in New Orleans.
Real quick. Yeah. Trump is going to the game.
I didn't
Did you know that? Yeah.
No, I didn't.
It's gonna be crazy. But go ahead. I'm sorry. So you have security issues. We just had the terrorist attack in New Orleans, and it just seems crazy that he'd be going, but he's going to go anyway.
Wow.
He's among the 83,000.
I guess so. I wonder if he's going to steal any focus from Taylor Swift. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. What can you? I mean, it's such a giant number. I can't imagine that you could even guess. But the estimated economic impact for the local economy of New Orleans.
Yeah.
You want to guess?
Yeah.
You want to guess?
I would say it's more than $1 billion. It's I would say. It's not more than
come down just a little bit.
500 million.
500 million.
Yeah.
500 million plus.
That makes sense to me. I think
change.
You have hotels, you have all kinds of things. I mean, the gambling industry alone is going to bring in, $1 trillion.
I wasn't even thinking about the gambling industry.
Yeah, but in terms of the local economy and restaurants and all the beignets and all the things that you get there. And the other things you get there in New Orleans.
Speaking of beignets, the projected average amount spent by a Super Bowl 59 tourist on 4 days worth of food and drinks.
I want to guess. Say 4 days, food and drinks.
It's not as high as I thought it would be.
$2,500.
$297.
Total?
Yeah. just for food and drinks over those 4 days.
Oh, 4 days?
Yeah.
Ah, wow.
A little more than that, too.
That seems quite reasonable. I would have expected, for that's per person, though, right?
Per person. That can't include what they're going to buy at the at the Superdome, though, right? Because doesn't it have to be like $12 for a small Diet Coke?
Right. So that's got to be while they're in town, but that seems low.
Yeah. I think so too. I think so too, especially when you consider how much the tickets cost. The average price of a ticket on the resale market.
Let me guess. I know the price came down from last year. I'd say $1,600.
$11,067.
Wow.
Average price of a ticket on the resale market. The lowest price of a Super Bowl ticket on the resale market is $6,733.
No way, man.
Yeah, that's a little too rich for my blood. I don't think I'll ever be attending.
And the thing is, it really takes all the regular fans out.
It does.
I mean, not really. I mean, there's some people that will spend their whole month's salary or half a year's salary to go to the Super Bowl. But I can't imagine. I mean, I'd rather just watch it. I mean, think of you can buy the largest flat screen TV that exists and own it for the next 5 years and watch every sporting event on it.
Right.
For a small percentage of what you would pay for one ticket to the Super Bowl. But I know it's a big event. People like to do it. I can't imagine ever going.
Well, and there's so much more to it than just getting that ticket. If you're not a resident of the city where it's taking place, you got to get yourself there. You got to put yourself up in a hotel. So much to it. Okay, now on to the other really interesting stuff, for me at least. Super Bowl Sunday is the highest food consumption day in the United States after Thanksgiving.
I didn't know that.
So we only eat more on one day of the year, and that's Thanksgiving.
Okay.
The average Super Bowl party goer will consume 6,000 calories at that Super Bowl party.
All right. So McConaughey's right.
Is that
on the Uber Eats ads, football is about making us eat more.
It is. It is.
Super Bowl, we eat more on Super Bowl Sunday than we do any other day of the year except Thanksgiving. Which, by the way, we should note is also a very big football day.
That's true.
So
football makes us hungry.
All right. McConaughey is correct about that.
Okay, the food is a little bit different, though. We will eat 1.4 billion chicken wings this Sunday.
Oh, my.
We'll eat 11.2 million pounds of potato chips. Goodness. And there will be a 41% increase in pizza orders compared to a regular Sunday.
Unbelievable. Well, that makes sense. And I saw something somewhere about the pounds of guacamole or something, number of avocados. It's insane.
Oh, there was that too. I can actually tell you what that is.
I mean, it's crazy. The actual breakdown. I mean, the billions of wings. I mean, I would never order pizza on Super Bowl Sunday. I like to do my own stuff and make my own stuff, but I know people do that, and that's great. But I usually do my own stuff.
304 million pounds of avocados.
Get out.
Will be purchased for guacamole.
Yeah, that's the same as my mom uses in a year. She's a big avocado
304,
fan. She eats avocado.
Million pounds.
Literally eats avocados every day. I mean, I think she eats a whole avocado every day.
That's good.
A half at a time.
I probably don't eat that much every day, but
I've never been a fan.
Yeah,
I know people love it. They go, "You don't like guacamole?" It's like, it's not that I don't like it. It's just I don't like it.
It's just not one of my favorite. Texture thing, or just,
it might be,
not,
but I gotta say that when I was in another country and we had not eaten, I don't know where we were, somewhere bad, and we hadn't eaten in a long time. And when you're in another country, one of the rules when you are eating in a wild place is if you can peel it, you can eat it. Okay, so if it's a banana, you can eat the banana. If it's eat the inside of the apple, you eat the inside of the apple. If it's an orange, you can orange. Eat the watermelon, eat watermelon.
You can eat it, and it's less likely to make you sick.
Right, yeah, because you get sick. Yeah, because all the water and stuff, the germs and stuff that are on the outside of anything. You don't eat lettuce. You don't eat stuff that's washed in the local water. But somebody brought out some avocados, and they had cut them a certain way, and they had salted them and peppered them just a certain way, and had squeezed some lime juice over the top of them a certain way. And I got to tell you, man, I thought it was fantastic.
Pretty good.
Oh, my Lance. I thought it was great. Now, I didn't repeat that here back in the States, but at least at that moment, I don't know whether it was because of where I was or that I was famished. I don't know. But I did love it. So go, avocado people. I cheer you on. I buy them every week and deliver them for great consumption and pleasure.
I love it. Okay, well, there's one more thing people are talking about the Super Bowl too, and it's whether or not, I didn't even know this until you mentioned it to me, and then I looked it up and found some information. People are wondering whether or not Taylor Swift will perform
with Kendrick Lamar
during the halftime show, and my initial thought would be, no, she's not. She'll be there as a fan. She'll be there, supporting the team, supporting her boyfriend, but she's not going to steal any thunder from Kendrick Lamar. However, she has never performed at a Super Bowl before. She's never done a halftime show.
That is really surprising to me. I don't know why. I mean, it just seems like that if I had to name the ones, I know the ones from the very past times, but I would have probably thought that she had performed.
It does seem like the kind of thing that she would be sort of built for, right? There's a collaboration between Kendrick Lamar and Taylor Swift.
Oh, really?
From 2014, it was a remix of one of her songs, "Bad Blood." So the collaboration and the pairing of the two of them is not unprecedented. So I guess it's not a totally crazy idea. My prediction would be that's not going to happen. I don't have a prediction for who's going to win the game, but I can predict whether or not Taylor Swift will join Kendrick Lamar for the halftime show, and I don't think she will.
Kansas City is, as of this moment, Kansas City I think is a 1.5 point favorite.
Yeah,
they are the likely favorite. I mean, even if it's only one, I think they're like some amazing number and 0 when they are picked within 3 points either side. So it's probably going to be Kansas City. I am put in a very uncomfortable position of having to pick. It reminds me of the old story of Jerry Jones. It was very early on, and Jerry Jones, owner of the Dallas Cowboys, was talking about a game between, at that time, the Oakland Raiders, owned by Al Davis, and the San Francisco 49ers. Bartolome, is that the guy that ran? Anyway, they're both sort of hated owners by Jerry Jones. He hated both of them. And so a reporter was asking Jerry Jones, you have this big game coming up, and who you going to be for? And he said, well, yeah, I don't really, certainly. I don't really like either one of them. Good. And they said, well, let me put it this way. If they were both on fire and you had one bucket of water, what would you do? What would you do? He said, I'd drink the water.
Yikes.
So he really didn't like him. I'm in not as that bad a situation with Kansas City and the Eagles, but I'm gonna have to pull for the Eagles.
I like Mahomes.
First of all, I like Mahomes too. First of all, they're both Texas high school quarterbacks. They are. They're both Christian guys. They both are not shy about their faith.
One is also a Texas college.
That's right. They're both family guys. Well, and the other one is a Big 12 college. He played at Oklahoma. So they're both good guys. I do like the demeanor, I think, of Jalen Hurts better. He just doesn't ride the roller coaster. He's very even keeled. I like that. I admire him, but I'm not at all a fan of the Eagles. But I think I'm going to have to be for the Eagles in this one. I get special. Plus the NFC.
Heard
but plus the
you
NFC.
Root for the Eagles.
I have never. But here is the thing. They are the NFC. The NFC is our division. And the other team is I know they don't care about that.
Okay.
But some people do. The AFC, like when it's baseball, the American League. I always root for the American League. I mean, it's almost always, except when the Cubs were playing the World Series. I was for the National League in that case because I wanted them to win. And so I'm almost always, except for the Yankees, I almost always root for the American League in that American League and National League competition. In this case, rooting for the NFC. National Football Conference, not the American Football Conference, which is the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm going to have to pull for them. I get a special sports hate dispensation.
You don't have to.
Well, I have to be for somebody.
I know you're choosing.
No, I know, but I mean,
be for
no,
them.
That's true. It's true. I could be for Mahomes. The other thing is, there's something about I don't like the dynastic stuff. I don't like the dynasty in sports with 3 in a row, 4 in a row, 5 in a row. I don't like the fact that every election we had for some period of time included either a Clinton or a Bush. It was crazy if you go back. I mean, way back to 1970, whatever, and you got a Bush in there and you got a Clinton. It's all along the way. It's like there are other people in the country that might be able to lead the country, and the same thing with sports. I don't want everything to be the L.A. Lakers or to be the Pittsburgh Steelers or to be whatever.
Take it back to sports for a second. Would you feel that way, though, if it was your beloved Texas Rangers winning the World Series 4 years out of 5 or 3 years out of 4? Would you feel like, no, we don't want a dynasty. It's time for somebody else to, or would you be a little bit more?
Probably. I mean, you have your own thing for your own team. Everybody want their own team to win and have the greatest records that can hopefully never ever be broken. I'm not even saying that hey, Kansas City win next year, but it's the 3 in a row that has never been done before. That's the part that has me a little bit. That's kind of the tiebreaker for me. That I don't care if they win 3 out of 4. I don't care if they win 4 out of 5. But the 3 in a row is sort of a deal breaker for me. But
it wouldn't be if it was the Rangers. Or the Mavericks
no. I mean,
it's
like special rules you have for your family. You may have certain rules for everybody else in the world, but your own family, you'd say, well, yeah. I mean, it's my kid or it's my whatever. So I mean, the same way, I think I would say, yeah, I'd like to see my team be king of the hill, but I've never liked the Yankees winning everything. You look back at all the Yankees' great heritage of winning. Most of what they won when there were 7 teams in the league.
The Yankees aren't your team, though.
Well, no,
I understand that, and you can have all those feelings. I'm not. I'm just trying to get clarity.
Yeah. But there's always a special carve out for the people that are your people in almost everything in life.
Gotcha.
But in terms of generally dynastic politics, no. Dynastic politics, no, and even dynasties in sports, not as big a fan.
How did you feel about Dynasty, the old ABC nighttime soap?
Oh, the TV show.
How'd you feel?
Yeah, I was never big on the nighttime soaps. Period.
Not that either.
And I mean, just because the whole soap opera thing and the big hair and everything is so dramatic and crazy. And
I didn't even really watch that, but every time you talk about any kind of dynasty, political dynasty, sports dynasty, that is just where my mind
what you think
goes.
Well, who was the guy, the Charlie's Angels guy?
John Forsythe.
I did like John Forsythe quite a bit. I mean, I liked him quite a bit. Anyway, so there you go. That is scatter shooting and the Super Bowl on. I'm not even going to say fly, Eagles, fly. I can't even say that. I'll just say, the lesser of evils. I know, but I said I wouldn't. But I mean, the lesser of evils for me is going to be, and I'm not rooting for the Chiefs to lose. Although it sounds like maybe I am, but I know that's not a good way to be. You don't want to be anyway. Hope it's a good game. That would be good enough for me. That is Scattershoot, Wilder Show podcast. Thanks for telling a friend. It's the double the audience in a week. You still have time to tell a friend or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 or even more about the Wilder Show podcast. WilderShow.com is where you find us. Podcast at WilderShow.com is how you contact us. And the podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. And we'll see you next time.
Do